Hi. Have you ever wanted more than you've experienced in religion or in the pew, in your church, following your God along a prescribed manner that others have given you? Have you ever wanted more? Have you ever wanted more from your school or college? Have you yearned for a different paradigm? Have you yearned for community? To be with people that would help you and that you could help? Maybe share life together, parts of it anyway. Can you can you help each other in school? Or is that called cheating? Or am I willing to take the entire paradigm of education and turn it upside down? The whole idea of knowing God and how to know God, who God is and what God will teach you, will I invert that, turn it upside down, tear it apart? At least the paradigm that's been given to you, that's been given to all of us. It says we were created apart from God and we need a Savior. We need this, we need that. We need to attend to get this diploma. We need to do this to be successful. I suggest to you it's a new day. And there's a new paradigm of love that is emerging and changing everything on the planet. Oh, could be. What are you willing to know and understand and be a part of this day? Something new, a new school, a new paradigm of education. One that has a program of 3 6-month semesters, a program of 18 months that has no tuition, no test, no grades, and allows students to work together and encourages it because we all need each other. Are you willing to learn from each other and teach and share love, life, and learning in humility without any ego? Are you willing to forge a new paradigm of education, of community, of spirituality, of knowing God, what we call God, knowing God directly, letting Him speak to you so that you begin to learn that it's a she? Or is it a both and, man, woman, woman, man? Is it genderless? Is it transcendent? Let us not create God in our image anymore, or impose our rules, our structure on what we think it is and how it operates. Let it teach us directly, and it will, my friend. Oh, it will. If you woo the voice in sincerity, if you will sit still and take time to woo the voice of it, the great it, no matter what you call it will make itself known to you, in you, through your own voice, your own pen, the operation of the new covenant. This is the living word that I am talking about, that you give breath to, creating a new creation. That's you. In your consciousness. And if you become conscious of your creation, that you're creating something new, you're creating you a new awareness, a new being, what can you speak of then? What can you do? What will your voice bring about? What will your words create? What will your smile engender? What will your touch heal? I suggest you're the unlimited you. And I am starting a school for this cause, for this purpose, for this creation, to be new creations, to not be limited to the old, to the past, to that which constricts and constrains and condemns us and tells us we need to sit under their authority, that we need their diplomas, we need their approval. Those days are over. The vestiges are still around, the artifacts are there, and they may seem successful, but their days are numbered, or are they walking out on life support and existing only because people don't know what to do now with the new day, the new century, the new God, the new revelation of God, that you're not separate and never were, and that your connection to God and each other can come about in synergy and lifelessness no more, but the life of the Christ, the Godded One, the Anointed One, will you unanoint you no more. A school. Yes, a school. I'm starting a school for the operation of the new covenant in you and everyone that wants to be it. Not for those of you who want to use it, but for those who will come into an understanding that you are never separate from God. You are inextricably linked from God. You cannot separate from God. You can suppress God in you and exalt your intellect and walk about with the understanding that you've attained, line by line, precept by precept, with your intellectual prowess maybe. And you may even wow a lot of people with all you know, or all you've done, or all you can do, or with your eloquent persuasion. But for the common man and woman, the common woman, man, boy, and girl, I stand here and I start a school called the University of the New Covenant. Out of thin air, out of my word. My word? The words that I've been given. For years I channeled. For years I sat still. For years I attended church. I was a devoted and became a devoted desperate. Desperate for God, desperate for more than sitting in a pew and listening to a sermon and having someone tell me that was the kingdom of God. Or someone to get emotional and tell me that that was the presence of the Holy Spirit when I felt nothing. Or even if I felt good or felt something, that was the all-powerful power that hangs planets in space? No, I don't think so. Maybe the blind leading the blind. So in my desperation, I started seeking God more and more. Thoughts began to come to me to seek God for correction. So I did. I started praying for correction diligently. A few months later, I had this thought and asked God for correction. So I began to ask God for correction. I began to ask God for judgment. I began to open up my heart in ways that no one had really taught me or talked with me about. I was serious. I was desperate. And I wanted to know God. And there was something in me that compelled me, because I felt like if there's a God, it is not mute, and it will not withhold itself from me if I come and ask. So finally, in 2003, I felt like God communicated with me one day and asked me to spend my entire mornings. And so I started. I changed all my schedule, changed my income, it changed everything in my life. I began to spend from 8 noon to noon, mostly 5 days a week. Trinity Episcopal Church in downtown Tulsa. I would go in and I would sit still. And I would just sit. I would just listen. I would sit. I would ponder, and there would be times maybe a Bible verse or a thought would come to me. But it wasn't long before I felt like thoughts would come to me that didn't originate through my ego-infested intellect. And I started writing them down. And as I wrote, if I wrote unjudgingly, if I just wrote, I would have the next phrase. And I began to write multi-page documents every day. Thousands of them. And the first 2,400 of those have become what I call simply database one. It forms the foundation for a new life. 2,400 at maybe an estimated average of 4 pages a piece. That's 8 or 10,000 pages. That's a lot of information, a lot of data, a lot of revelation. It documents my life through that time. There are many things spoken to me personally. There are many things about what's going on in the world. There is much correction to what is commonly called orthodox thought. It's all out the box. But embedded in all those documents is a learning system that could not have been contrived or conjured up by my imagination. Very systematically, the way the words came to me, before long, they begin to speak of a school and starting a school. A school that would create schools. A school that would be a new paradigm of education. a school that would operate releasing the heart of God to speak in every classroom, in every class. And so what came about is this entire structure that completely turns normal education upside down. And the whole idea of seeking God as a separate entity that fills you or that you accept turns all that upside down. It begins to give us a new identity. An identity with Jesus as our pattern, so that we begin to see we were the one in the manger. We were the one that the other angels sang about. And we have power, grace, glory, and beauty that we know nothing of. Were we the angels that gave up our first estate to come here to experience us, to try to experience our own creation? Did we create us? I suggest we are all creators. And we are coming back into the oneness of love that is all encompassing and does not create hierarchies and rules like religions do. It's of the heart. And the heart is not limited to syllables nor sound waves nor light waves, for that matter, the way we know them. So I'm starting a school for the operation of the new covenant, to complete the new covenant, to create the new covenant, for you to be the new covenant one, because you're the one we all waited for. Yes, you, women, men, of every nation, tribe, and tongue. You're the one. Because we all are the one. Can you surrender to love? Will you let love flow to you, in you, through you? Are you willing to heal other people if you can? Are you willing to learn that you have that power? Are you willing to share your life? Are you willing to redeem you from the separation that you thought you had, that we were all taught that we had? From God, from each other. So a new school in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, USA. Beginning March 1st. That's just in a few weeks. That's now. Want to come? Want to participate? The program is 18 months, basically 70 weeks, to create a new consciousness, to complete a new creation. So the first 6 months, you learn how to learn. You learn to be still. You sit with other people who are here for the same purpose. People who are desperate for God, desperate for more than what they have been taught in a pew, or abiding by whatever religious rules and regulations they have been under. Will you come out from under the authority of man and operate in your own authority, your own decision-making ability, your own leadership? being accountable to you, letting your leadership arise. Woman, women, men of every nation, tribe, and tongue. Are you willing to turn the whole paradigm of education upside down and let it come from the inside out? So all of these words that I speak of, these messages that came, these channelings, these 2,400 messages, it has an entire curriculum within it, embedded within it, a learning system. Not only does it document a lot of things, correct a lot of things, but it leads you gently through a whole system of education to help open up your heart for you to know God directly, so that God teaches you directly internally, and you begin to write, and you begin to create these lessons. You begin to share with each other. So instead of being like most schools, where you're isolated from each other for the most part, this is one where you share your learning. This is a school of community, a school of creation, a school of a new paradigm, a school of the internal Christ teaching you that you're it, and so is she. So the first 6 months, you begin to go through database 1. And there's an entire system designed that's actually taught within these messages about how to use them, how to go through them, how to understand and link to get the whole picture. I could say more about that, but this is the announcement of a school starting March 1st. Here in Eureka Springs. So the first 6 months, you begin to learn and experience. The second 6 months, you begin to really create. And part of the curriculum, part of what you're going through is you creating curriculum. You creating courses. There are some papers to write. There are some assignments. They are all God-authored. I could not have imagined some of these things. But I wrote and I spoke without judgment. I did not make what I spoke conform to my mechanical mind and what it had been programmed and conditioned to think was right. I let it flow. And rivers of living water flowed and gave me many beautiful words and words of correction and a few times words of rebuke, but always gently, lovingly. First 6 months, learn, write, share, experience community, love, peace, and healing. Begin to walk in your power. Second 6 months, create courses. Begin to expand, mature. The third 6 months, begin to teach the courses you've written. To whom? What about the people that now come in? They're there for the first 6 months. Will you be willing to share with them, to be training wheels for them, with them, hold their hand so they get through that first 6 months, so that they begin to experience the peace and the indwelling of what? Their love, the knowledge thereof, the infinite knowledge that they've locked out in the past, that now they have access to because the message is right here. Or is it right here? Or are you willing to see a new paradigm? And then after 18 months, will you go back to your country and start a school? No matter what trade or craft you were in, no matter what vocation. Will you lead a life of education, of love, of leadership, where you're not bound to a pew? You're not bound to the authoritarian structure of some patriarchy. I give you love, I give you me. Or do I give you my words or my consciousness? I give you me and all that I am. I give you the most valuable thing that I have. All my words, scot-free, for you to learn from, to release yours. So you release that fount of living water within you to learn and be educated by the divine within, the great within, no matter what you call it. Because no matter what your name for God, that does not does not defeat the operation of God. And God operates by love. And it is not bound by man. So if God is in what I'm saying, if God is in this school, no one will stop it. And if God is not in this, it will come to naught. I tried to start a school. I tried to start this school several times in the last 10 or 15 years. Maybe this is the time. Maybe you are the called. Maybe you are ready. Maybe I'm ready. Maybe we are ready. Maybe we're ready to share what we're learning. Can you imagine at a college, a university, a school of higher learning, not bound by the boundaries of mankind? Can you imagine a schedule where maybe you spend the mornings in your own solitude, your own personal classroom, wherever that is, maybe among all the hills of this area? This is a great place, Northwest Arkansas, especially Eureka Springs. It has a great consciousness, a history of healing in its very legends. So you spend the morning listening, learning, surrendering, reading Database 1, maybe writing what you are being given, and all of us coming together at noon in the classroom, in the coffee shop, on a hillside, in maybe various buildings as they become available to us. Can you imagine such? A school that flows, a dynamic school that is not laden with hierarchy or debt, nor ladens you with it. Can you imagine coming together where, especially the first 6 months, I teach, I share, I hold your hand, I facilitate change, I facilitate conversation, communication, understanding these words. And then how do you spend the afternoons? So maybe an hour with me, maybe two, maybe some conversation, maybe some fun and games. Hey, Eureka Springs is a great place. You know, we have two lakes, Table Rock Lake and Beaver Lake. very clear water, big lakes. 20 minutes from here. Like to water ski? I do. Campgrounds all over. World-class bike trails all over the area. Great hotels, great restaurants. Hundreds, I don't know, seems like, of B&Bs, bed and breakfast here. This is a great place. It's only a town of about 2,000 at the moment. Who knows what it may come to be. And you know what else? A number of beautiful people live here. A lot of great craftsmen and craftswomen who are so very talented. A lot of old hippies too. There are people here who have courses in boot making and understanding crystals or astronomy, astrology. You see, this is a place of education, I think. Out of bounds, unboxed. Are you willing to begin to see a new picture? A picture of where people come together, where instead of being isolated and working together is called cheating, it's the opposite. It's encouraged, where you begin to share with each other tenderly. You begin to help each other. Not everyone's going to be at the same learning speed or reading speed or reading comprehension. What if people arrive here and they don't even know English? Who's going to teach them? Are we? Will we help each other? Will we be our brother's helper, our sister's helper? And will we quit putting down the divine feminine? And stop trying to suppress the divinity of women? Hey, we're all one. So leadership is involved to arise leadership. That's why I went back and got my doctorate in leadership. And I wrote my final paper on this school and how it would operate the best that I could articulate at that time to help facilitate open hearts. And the articulate heart to be known and come to revise everything that we thought was so cast in stone. I invite you to be the dynamic you. I invite you to know there's more than you've ever been taught. More than what's ever been put into a book, and it's available to you in surrender. As you listen and let the master of all masters teach you that's already inside you, that is you. Inseparable. Inseparable. So you were never separate from God. You were never created a worm. You never needed a vicarious atonement, ever. The message of Jesus was to be the Christ, to be what he became. And that's what this school is about. March 1st. March 1st, something new emerges. And if no one comes, if no one is here at noon, at the coffee shop I go to every day to meet me to start this school, I don't know that I'm in control. I issue the invitation. I wrote the words. I make myself available. What do you do? What are you doing? Are you willing to invest 18 months in a new life? If not 18 months, are you willing to invest 6 months? 6 months to come and experience the first of 3 semesters. Tuition free, grade free, no test. You help each other. You begin not to tap into the infinite, where you can't use it, but you can surrender to operate in the infinite because it's what you are. So I invite you to be a part of the school I am starting in ways that maybe you can't imagine at this moment hearing these words. If you feel like this recording, these words, any of my videos have any value, please share them. Share them. Share them freely. March 1st is not far away. Many decisions will be made between now and then, between you and your Maker. That was you. Choose well, my friend. I bow before you this day, and I call you Christ. Christ to be, Christ to be it. Women and men. The call of Christ is to be the Christ in your shoes that looks like you, that walks in your shoes. That's the message. And the eternal, immortal grace and beauty of one flow in you this day to teach you all things, the operation of the new covenant. That's my call to you this day and my offering to you, offering you me. I love you and bless you this day. Thank you for listening to these words. Thank you for being you. Thank you for every kind thing you have ever done for an individual. Now be kind to you. Love well, love mighty, and let your love out the box. Let it flow and let it speak and teach you the majestic beauty of who you really are. My name is Theodore Cottingham, TheodoreCottingham.com. And I'm on YouTube as well, sharing the message of the new paradigm of Christ, of the new covenant in operation, operationalized by who surrendered to become it on the earth here and now. I love you all. Good day. Oh, let me know. Send me a note. Box 34, Eureka Springs, Arkansas. Email, Theodore Eureka @gmail.com. I'm not the only teacher. There'll be people come from far and wide to participate, to be out the box. I love you.